Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Damar, and we have a very special guest with us today, Mrs. Julie Sasso. Julie, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Well, you're the town board of Bethlehem right here, we're always glad to be in the library, which is obviously part of the town of Bethlehem. And let's say from the beginning, why did you see to be on the town board? It's not a full-time job, it's a part-time job, and there's a little money in it, but on the other hand, it's, sometimes more of a headache. That's what people say. These little jobs take up more time than you're really consummated and pay for it.
Sure. Well, I didn't come to it because I was interested in a job. I really came to it from a community service perspective. My career initially was in social work. I've always had that desire to give back to my community, and I've been involved in a variety of different organizations in a variety of different ways. I think for me, when I thought about what I wanted to do next to be involved in my community, it seemed like a natural progression. I had focused for a long time on things that had to do with my children, which was very rewarding, but I wanted to take it to a bigger level. I felt like after I'd lived here, I'd been here in the community 12 years at the time that I ran, and I feel like I run a business here in town, and I just am very committed to my community, and I wanted to see how I could give back a little bit more. So that's how I first got involved.
It's always interesting. You get a bunch of complainers. Everybody says, oh, the town should do this, the town should do that. And, we're in America. It's not Russia. A person's able to participate, either go to town board meetings or be, a regular citizen like yourself, to participate instead of sitting back and complaining about everything. Obviously nothing's perfect in the world and on our town. And, just get there. It's very good that you participate.
Well, thank you. And actually that, I think, is one of the most wonderful parts of being on the town board is it's government at the most basic level. So people can stop you in the grocery store, talk to you on the baseball field, express their concerns when they see you because you're a member of their community. They can come to meetings, they can write us emails, and they can really make their needs and desires known on a level that it just gets harder the higher up in government you go. So I feel like on a town board level, I really can affect change that I'm going to see in my community, and people can respond to us and let us know what they need.
All right. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty,
Sure.
The real issues of the town. Budget's always, number one. Everybody's worried about money, and then, of course, budget comes with taxes, and
Sure.
that's what everybody, again, complains about, too much taxes. And, is the town number one sound with the budget? I mean, you hear on the radio, some towns are going under.
Right. No, I think that Bethlehem is doing a wonderful job being sound with our budget. We have for several years have had a balanced operating budget. Our final numbers aren't out yet for 2014, but everything that the comptroller has told us makes it look like it's going to be good. We've been able to stay well under the tax cap for several years, and we're planning for the future. We have capital plans, and that's really an unusual thing. The other thing that we do that a lot of municipalities don't is that we look at our budget in a multi-year way. So we're not just planning for this year, we're looking out and projecting what expenses we're going to have into 16 and 17. So it really allows us to be mindful about how we're spending the community's money.
What are the bigger expenses that for the
Right.
town? I mean, you have your regular expenses,
Sure.
of course.
Absolutely. Some of the capital plans that we're working on right now is we're doing a tremendous amount of sewer work. I don't know that anybody in the town who's driven by hasn't come across one of the big projects that we're going on. Obviously, it's a little slower now this time of year, but a lot of sewer work.
Is that because things are broken? So I do see it myself, but I figure, maybe, something's a break, or that's just a renovation
Sure,
of things.
right. I mean, sometimes you do see those sort of emergency, the guys are in the hole and they're fixing a leak. But no, I think a lot of it is planning ahead. We have old infrastructure, and we're trying to be planful so that we're not just patching holes as they come up. We're trying to make a plan and spend our money wisely to upgrade the infrastructure before we get to that emergency situation. We're also
There's money for that because it's interesting because, I have many politicians and on the show, and I know, for example, in Rensselaer, they just say they're going to go broke exactly for the sewers.
Yeah.
It's an incredible amount of money. I forgot the numbers he was saying, but just for 1 mile of sewer was, it's just a lot of money. So I guess there needs a lot of planning for that.
It is a lot, and I think that we have to be mindful. We can't say that because we're stable now, we're always going to be stable. We always have to be frugal and planful, because there are going to be times when unexpected expenses come up. But I think that that's true very similarly to how we run our family budgets, right? And you just, you have to be
Think
cautious,
ahead,
but plan ahead, right?
Is there any way of bringing in more money, to the town? Or they're looking for ways?
I think that we're always looking for ways. I think that, we last year hired an economic development officer, and I think that, it's important to bring new businesses into our community and look for ways to enhance the tax base. And I think that adding that person to our staff who works both with the town as well as the IDA is really focusing our desire as a community to increase the amount of businesses that come into town.
Well, the Vista is what comes to my mind on
Sure.
the 85, that they're still expanding with
Yep.
new, not only stores, but just technological, industrial. It is called the Vista Industrial Park.
Technology.
Oh,
Vista
technology.
Tech. Yep.
I'm sorry.
No,
then.
that's okay. No, it is, and the process is happening for Monolith Solar to establish their base at the Slingerlands Vista Park. Obviously, some people, and it's a common complaint that you hear that, it's been open for several years. We're just now getting our first technology tenant. It's taken a while, but we're also making money off of that property. We last year, the community got $364,000 in revenue from Vista. So and it's only going to grow exponentially from there as pilots are reduced and as new tenants are brought in. So.
I've been around for, over 25 years, but I remember even, for example, the Walmart, there was always these big arguments from some people. It wasn't from me, but, people saying, oh, expanding, I like my little hamlet,
Right.
Bethlehem, I like my bedroom community. What are you bringing in Walmarts and industries here? Just keep it quiet and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tension, and it's something that we have to balance because all of us who live here, we live here because of the quality of life, and it is a wonderful place and it is a wonderful community. And while growth is natural, there's always that balance of when is too much growth a bad thing. But on the other hand, people complain about the residential taxes, and unless we
Bring in the
counteract that with an increased commercial tax base, it's going to just always be on the residential. end of
There's more even homes being built, aren't there?
are.
Because I just know that even right across from here where we're broadcasting, which is the library, is that for Standick's Florist
Oh,
now
the Gables, sure.
became now a condo.
Right.
Condos are houses. So.
They're townhomes. But I think that is, yes, I think we're growing. I think that it's a desirable place to live, so we're going to continue to grow. I think that we're balancing that. I think that we have a very strong planning department and both the staff as well as the planning board that looks at new development carefully and tries to weigh how it's going to fit within our existing setting.
Yeah, well, I know that in general also because, I'm on Ellesmere, so therefore on Furbush, the sidewalks that was still
Sure.
being expanded just to take in all the, people want to ride. Actually, again, I've been here for so many years, and my sidewalk was fairly new. It's now a number of years old.
Right.
And now that you see that people on sidewalk, people walking their dogs, bicycles, anyway, it's being used. It was a real thing. It wasn't just some project that,
Yeah.
that someone dreamt up and no one's making
Right.
use of it. People do want to walk around
They do, they
and
do.
be safe. I know that people, of course, we're Sabbath observant. That means they have to walk
Sure.
to the synagogue. And they're saying, well, I was in the street and,
Yeah.
it was snowy and it's difficult to walk
Right.
and cars are going by. So, I look forward to all those sidewalks also for my parishioners too.
Well, and you're not alone. I think that is it's very important in our community. Walkability. My other hat is real estate agent, and in my business, I hear a lot. People are making choices about where they want to live, and a big piece of that is the ease of getting from place to place, the ability to walk to a restaurant or a shop, the ability for their kids to play safely outside in their neighborhood, and that I think that that's important for us as a community and as a town government to be able to accommodate for those desires by prioritizing things like sidewalks.
Well, that's a nice segue that since you are an expert in the real estate, how is the real estate market? Because I was talking to a few people just a few months ago and they say it was a little bit slow. Maybe it was the winter, people not going to go out in the winter.
Right. Well, real estate is it's a lumpy business. So there are the highs and the lows. I think overall it is doing really well. I think that this is a very stable place to live. Bethlehem's sale prices generally stay stable because people want to live here. Because we have such a great school district and such a great community, people are always going to want to be moving in here. So our real estate does really well.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I was seeing on the internet and they say the best schools in New York. So of course I had to look
Sure.
up what Bethlehem was. And really in the area, in the capital district area, Bethlehem was number
Yep.
one. So that's also obviously making it desirable. People come with a house, they have few kids, and few kids are going to go to school, and they obviously they're moving out to the suburbs for their good education.
Yeah, almost every single buyer that we work with, that's the most important criteria is school district.
Really, it's interesting. Well, it's important for the kids, though.
Well, not just the kids, it's important for resale value, because even if you yourself don't have children, the chances are that when you go to sell your house, the person who might be buying the house might have children. So even if it's not important to you and you're not planning to use the school services, you're going to want to be able to sell your house again. And houses in good school districts always maintain their value.
Well, that's interesting, yeah. So, yeah, people look ahead also.
They do, yeah.
There's also, of course, other issues over here that we are in the library, and I always say thankful to the Bethlehem Library for using their facilities to broadcast the TV, but Glenmont is really booming. Like we were talking about real estate, and people were
There's still
talking
open
about
land
enough
there,
of
yep.
people are moving out there. Is there any idea of a library out there or any building there?
You know, it's interesting. I have not yet heard of that as an idea. I think it's an interesting concept. Whether or not we have a need as a town or whether we could support an additional facility would be important to do. I mean, obviously I want to do some research on that. I mean, I personally am a huge fan of the library. I'm here at least once a week. I love the ability to take out books and not have to buy them all the time. My children use it as a resource. And I think libraries are a very important community resource. There aren't that many places that we have nowadays to come together as a community. So those kind of public spaces where you can meet other people and you can, check in because you see somebody that you haven't seen in a while and you say hi. It's very important to have those kind of spaces. Whether or not we can support another library in town, I have no idea.
It's just so much expenses.
Sure.
Like you were saying really at the beginning when you're dealing with a budget, it would be nice. Everything
Sure,
would be
yeah.
nice. They
Right.
have a lot, like they have a Cadillac and a
Right.
Rolls Royce. Yeah, it would be nice,
It
but
would
you
be
have to
nice.
know what are the other issues that are in front of the town board? Safety, I wouldn't think is really it's a safe community
It
generally.
is a safe
we have.
community. We don't tend to hear a lot of concerns about safety. I know right now the Parks program is doing a master plan, which I'm interested to see the results of that. They've hired a consultant who was here, I want to say about a month ago, doing focus groups with a variety of different stakeholders, and they're going to put together their recommendations for how we can move our Parks and Recreation Department forward. And some of that what was interesting is I participated in a couple of the focus groups, and I really enjoyed listening to what community members were interested in having in addition to what we already have. And some of it is these, wonderful, pie in the sky dreams, but I think that it's important to have a goal that you're working toward. And maybe if we determine that we need a community center in town, maybe that's not something that we can get in the next year, but if we have a plan for the next 10 or 15 years moving forward, it might be something that we could attain if that ends up being a recommendation out of the
So it
master
could be
plan.
more facilities, more libraries,
They're looking at everything. Parks and Rec.
yeah.
So you've obviously got the facilities like the Elm Avenue Park and the other parks that we have
a lot
across
of
the
parks.
town. But they also run programs. They have programs that vary from athletics. Fitness classes for adults. They have summer camps for children. There's obviously the pool in the summer. So they really do a wide variety of things. And this master plan study is looking at what they do and what they do well, what's missing in the community, what community members would like to have more of, and trying to come up with a plan for how we can move forward over the next several years.
Very good. One of the other committees you're in charge is Dare and Tick.
I am, yes.
I mean, how bad is it? Just start from the beginning, because
Sure.
I've heard of it before. And sometimes, I'll tell you the truth, sometimes I'm skeptical. Sometimes there's always a biggest problem in the world, and it turns out that, it increased from one person to two people.
Sure.
But, I really don't know anything about it, and I'm sure our viewers are
Sure.
also in the dark. So just start from the beginning what the issues are.
Well, it's actually been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in the year that I've been on the town board. Back in March of last year, the town board decided that based on comments that we'd heard from community members, and predating me, but comments that the board had heard about concerns both with the deer population as well as the increased incidence of tick-borne disease in the town. So the town board decided to form a committee to look into these two issues. And one thing to state clearly is that they're two separate issues. There are points where the deer and tick-borne disease overlap, but there are issues related to deer that have nothing to do with ticks, and there are tick-borne disease transmission issues that have nothing to do with deer.
But with the deer issue would be too many deer around?
Well, right, traffic issues resulting in auto collisions with deer, landscape damage, and just the sort of general pest factor of deer. So what we did was we formed the committee, and it's all volunteer. It's local community members. We have a variety of different backgrounds on the committee. We have a couple of doctors, we have a local vet, we have a member of the garden committee, we have some local, just people who are interested in the issues, people who have either had themselves tick-borne disease or family members have tick-borne disease. I volunteered to chair the committee, not because I have any particular expertise in either of those issues, but because I felt like I could contribute by keeping the group organized and moving it forward. So we formed back in March of last year, and we started meeting in April, and after the first meeting we basically laid out to ourselves what are the questions that we have. If we're going to make recommendations to the board about possible methods to address ticks and deer in town, what do we need to know? So we spent 8 months hearing from different experts. Each month we had a different topic to cover, and they ranged from deer management to tick management to integrated pest control. We had a session on tick-borne disease. We had a session where we learned about impact on our pets, impact on gardening. I'm sure I'm missing a couple of topics, but we definitely tried to look at every possible facet of the two issues. We also had a community survey. We did an online survey, and that was back in September, and we ended up with 1,700 responses, which compared to other town surveys is pretty amazing that we got that much community interest. And so what we did was we looked at all of the information we gathered, we looked at the results of the survey, and we sat down and spent a couple of months just formulating what we thought were some reasonable recommendations to make to the town board. And we're actually going to be doing our presentation at the regular town board meeting on March 25th, so 2 weeks from tomorrow. And it's exciting to me because I think when I started the committee, I wasn't really sure what would come out of it. To me, it just seemed a little overwhelming that we have a lot of deer in town, and tick-borne disease seems to be on the rise and very difficult to control. And
Do you know the numbers behind that? I mean, because
I
you
don't.
hear though. But
Yeah, I don't have numbers. I mean, there are numbers out there, but they're not necessarily broken down by a community level. There are state and regional numbers.
And it's growing though.
It
That's
is
the
growing.
bottom
It
line.
is, yes. Both the deer population and the tick-borne disease incidence is growing tremendously.
And ticks only come from deer?
No, they don't. I mean, that's the interesting thing. I mean, ticks are obviously their own being, and they are one of the most pernicious little creatures that you've ever seen, and they will feed on just about any mammal. They're very opportunistic. The deer tend to be the host of choice for the adult tick because of the way that the ticks are, the level that they are at on the tall grasses. The deer just hit the right level. But one of the other major and much more problematic hosts even is the white-footed mouse. The younger stages of the ticks feed off of mice and other very small mammals. So, if you're looking to deal with ticks, you can't just look at the deer population because there are other animals that impact the tick population. So that was what was overwhelming to me when we started thinking about what could we possibly recommend, because our town government is not in charge of addressing tick-borne disease diagnosis or treatment. We're not doctors. That's not within right. And it's Department of Health. Yeah. And but I think that what we realized as a committee is that there are public awareness campaigns that we can organize. There is information that we can share with town residents and some choices that they can make on a personal level, on an private landowners options, such as you can do some landscape management to both decrease the habitat for deer as well as decrease the habitat for ticks. You can, do things. There are in pesticides that you can apply on your own property if you're interested in. There are interventions that you can take, and I think that what we see as a committee is the opportunity to share the information that we've learned with the community and get some of the information out there so that people can make some choices for themselves about how they want to handle deer and ticks.
To decrease the deer population, something with the hunters, would that help?
Well, that's one of the issues we explored. That's some communities have chosen to do town-sponsored culls, basically, above and beyond the normal hunting. Because we obviously have a hunting season, and that there are parameters around which people can hunt within the town of Bethlehem. and some communities have taken that a further step where they have an organized time where they're specifically, going on to town-owned lands or other situations where they've chosen the parameters and, seeking to reduce the deer population. That's not something, after looking at that in great detail, that's not something that we as a committee are going to be recommending to the town board. It's not a scenario that I think our town is conducive to being successful in. It's been most successful in communities that have very defined borders, like whether an island community where you can reduce the deer population and it's going to stay reduced because your boundaries are very clear. We don't have clear boundaries.
These are also county and state issues also. It's
they
hard
are.
to say just a town
Absolutely.
is going to control the deer.
Right,
like
and deer
you're saying.
deer don't care about town borders. They don't. But there are things that we can do to manage deer on our own individual properties. There are things that we can do to make our landscape less desirable to deer.
But you're also like the awareness, and again, I have different doctors that come to our temple and synagogue, and they know more than surely
Sure.
than I know, but I should know myself because kids come around, and if you see a tick on
Right.
a skin,
Right.
and they know this is a problem, take it off,
Right.
or like I say, is it 24 hours? Again, I'm
Wait,
not.
that's what I've heard. That 24
Yeah.
hours is if you can get the tick removed within 24 hours, because it does take a period of time for the tick to go through the feeding process and have the disease transmitted. But that's for certain diseases. That's for Lyme disease. That's not necessarily the case for some of the other tick-borne diseases.
Really?
Yeah.
There are. I didn't even know
There
that.
are, and I think that's what's a little scary about the whole process is that there are emergent tick diseases that we're not seeing a lot of right now, but that are growing. I would give you the examples, but I can't pronounce them. That's where the medical expert would come in. But it's not just Lyme disease, and we need to think beyond that because there are other, and people can apparently be co-infected. You can suffer from several tick-borne diseases at the same time.
Really, that is scary
Yeah.
a little bit because I know that just kids go out in a little kiddie pool. You got a 3-year-old, and then you have to just to be aware, look at their back.
Right, no.
What anything attached to them when they come from the outside.
Right, and I have children. I have school-age children, and I don't want my children to stay in front of the computer playing video games because they're afraid to be outside because of ticks. That's not the world that we want to live in, but I think that we do need to make sure that people understand what the options are for personal protection and then what are the options for monitoring your body and keeping safe. So that, yes, ticks are part of our life. They're not going anywhere. They're,
Is there any way to get rid of them? These pesticides, but now they're so controlling pesticides because they're harmful. You
Right.
hear these kind of ideas.
Yeah,
all the
I mean,
time.
I don't see how approaching an eradication goal is realistic. I don't think that any of the research that we did leads that that's something that we should be striving for. But it is the idea of controlling and minimizing the risk in certain locations.
I think it's less up here in the north, isn't it, more than south? 'Cause
Well, it's spreading north.
Really?
There used to be a time when you would never hear about tick-borne disease in the Adirondacks, and now it's there. So it is. I was one of the when I was doing the research, I was calling different communities that have had programs to either deal with tick management or deer management, and I spoke to a town in Michigan, and they have a great tick program. A deer control program, but they don't have to deal with ticks because they don't have tick-borne disease in that part of Michigan yet. That doesn't mean that they won't in 5-10 years. Ticks are spreading, so.
Well, something it's good that you're on it over.
Yeah.
No, because I know a few people even that, that were infected with it.
Sure.
They lost a lot of weight. What happened to you? They were young people. And says, I had a tick disease that was very sick
it's
over
pretty
here.
devastating that, the survey results, our final question was, do you have any comment you want to share with us? And it was heartbreaking, the number of personal stories people shared about themselves, their family members, their children, and their experiences with tick-borne disease. So it definitely is an issue, and I'm glad that the town is looking at what we might be able to do as a community to help our community manage.
Yeah, because you see sometimes people would think, what's a mosquito bite?
Right.
So no one likes a mosquito bite,
Right.
but it's not going
Right. It's not gonna-
to do too
Right.
much for you. It's one thing a bite from one insect or another, a bee
Right.
sting. something like that. But this tick is really devastating. You know, a few cases that I know of. You know,
Yeah, no, I agree.
there's what to be scared about over here. So you're doing good work, just being
Well,
sure.
thank
I don't
you.
know if you can keep them out. Put up a border sign over here.
No ticks welcome.
In Bethlehem or anywhere over here. It's an issue. I mean, it's interesting that you know, nowadays, you know, some of the other diseases are eradicated.
Yeah.
I mean, even though now they're talking about measles is coming back, you know, you
Right.
just let's get rid of all the.
Well, that's funny. We don't have a vaccine for tick-borne disease, so maybe that's
would
something that'll
be-
happen in the future.
See, are they talking about it?
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I think that they had actually done some research. It just wasn't moneymaker for
No.
pharmaceuticals yet. So maybe in time, if it keeps growing.
It keeps growing. Yeah, people want to. They have vaccines for all these the
Right.
kids. That, so I say they're almost like a pin cushion over here. You know, you have a little baby and. This, well, you know, you want to keep them safe, of course.
Well, and
but,
there's a Lyme disease vaccine for dogs.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing for human.
Nothing for humans.
Really,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, keep your dog safe over here.
I
That's
do. My
important.
dogs are tick free.
Really? But and interesting. Is there anything, we only have a few more minutes
Sure.
to talk about, any other issues that you want to talk about, and or the projection for the future for the town, or just the like you say, the situation presently
Yeah.
about the town is, I mean,
I think we're
everything
pretty
is good.
stable. We're solid. I think that we are. I'm excited to see the Delaware Avenue streetscape plan. You know, there's going to be some improvements on our main street corridor, basically between here and the entry into Albany, and I'm excited to see what happens with that over the next couple of years.
They have the money for that. I mean,
they're working on
that's
it.
a done deal.
Yeah,
meaning that's kind of
there are
a-
pieces of it that are definitely done deals, and we're working on as much as we can
So
do.
to make it safer, what would be the
No,
points there?
it's enhancement to make it more walkable, to make it more pedestrian friendly, and to improve the facades.
You're right. You know, it is a good point, because once I see, you know, it's such a nice street, but on the other hand, you try to walk on a sidewalk
Right.
and it caves in.
Right.
And, you know, you're walking around. It really isn't so conducive. And there may be, you know, you see some other places. Maybe I go to Florida and I see that a lot. But, you know, like flowers
Sure,
down the
right,
road
exactly.
or something.
I mean, make people
Yeah.
want to come out and walk the
Yeah,
street and
walk
make it
through.
yeah.
You know, so I think that's an important improvement also, just to make it, like you're saying, walker friendly. You know, it doesn't have to be just take your car to the store and go somewhere
Right.
else. So that's, in any case, very much. Thank you very much.
you're
I mean,
welcome.
Julie, for keeping us abreast of what's happening in the town of Bethlehem. It's
Thanks for
important
having
for, like I say, that people don't get involved so much. They complain or they want this, and why isn't this getting done? But here, at least we can present the issues to them, and if they want to come out and participate, people are able to come to a town board
Absolutely,
meeting.
they're encouraged to come. There's public comment periods before every meeting, and we are very receptive to what people have to say. We're very open to emails, phone calls. We want to hear what people have to say.
You know, I just, like you said at the beginning of the show, I mean, this is really more the American way. I mean, how much input you have to a Congress or
Right.
a war overseas. I mean, who's listening to you? But here it's, you're down to earth, in your own community where
Right.
you live. It's, you can have your own say so. It's really America at the best over
I
here.
think
This,
so.
I
I
think,
do.
real democracy. Well, so thank you very much. You're doing
thank
good
you.
work, and continue doing the good work in the future.
Well, thank you so much.